Good morning, evening, or afternoon, everybody. It is me, your boy TPT, coming at you not live and not from Twitch TV. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today. So, we will be doing our next EU4 Advanced Guide, and this one will be covering economics, more specifically, the rate of return of investment for buildings. In other words, how to get the most bang for your buck when it comes to buildings. Or building bang for buck, I guess you could say. Anyway, before we do get right into that, I will obviously have to give a couple shout outs here. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to my boy Lunatic, of course, for providing me with this save file of his. He's done a beautiful job of conquering the world, makes plenty of money, so I can, show you guys what's up. And he was graciously generous enough to provide me with the save file to use. So obviously I'll be linking his Twitch channel in the description down below. I'd also like to give my usual shout outs to the EU4 Casuals and EU4 Australia Discords. For obvious reasons, they're great multiplayer places to hang out. Obviously EU4 Australia is mainly designed for Australians, whereas EU4 Casuals is for Europeans and Americans. And they also they do more games than just EU4, so don't be confused by the name. And as long as you stick away from the politics channel, you guys should be just fine. So, first of all, again, we're mainly going to be looking at the rate of return on investments for buildings. Essentially, just looking, cash-wise, what's worth it, what's not. This may be one video, it may be two. I'm not sure exactly how long it's going to take me to get through everything. So I'm just going to go YOLO it. And I hope you guys enjoy. So, obviously here we have unlocked every building, thankfully. So I don't need to pretend otherwise. And the type of building you get, regardless of what type of building it is, but the type of building you get, be it military, economic, or otherwise, is actually directly related to the type of trade good present on that province. So, even, say for example, we've got ourselves some cloth provinces, some livestock provinces, right? So, say for example, we've got one of those. You'd be surprised, but the type of trade good it has actually determines on if barracks is worth being built there or not, amongst other things, or a soldier's household. So, if you guys haven't seen, there's two main type of manufactories in here, which are the important ones, which is obviously the manufactory and the soldier's household. And you may be asking, but why are they so important? Well, it's pretty simple, really. And that's because of the fact that all the others just kind of, no one really cares about this. Ramparts kind of useful sometimes, but typically not really. In single player specifically, just never useful. In multiplayer, they definitely can be. I would recommend building them on low trade good priced forts in mountains specifically. So there's quite a number of good opportunities for them over in here. Like for example, Karamabad, drop a fort on there. Drop a, I would drop a rampart on there. No worries. Same with, Marageh. Perfect. Drop a rampart on there. Just go for those poor provinces which are still mountains. Fish, even better. Go for it. But generally in single player, I don't really think I ever build them because there's just better options instead. So, now something important to note is if you read the descriptions of these three, you'll see that it states will be more effective on provinces with XYZ trade good. And that's something very important to note because that will assist greatly with determining which buildings you place where. So, first of all, a general good rule of thumb is any building worth, any manufactory worth about 0.29, 0.28 and above is pretty much worth it. So all these, I would grab all of these, all that, probably that. Hell, because I've got so much money, I'd actually even go down to 0.25. As long as it's not grain, fish, sometimes wine, and occasionally livestock as well. But livestock does actually get quite valuable later on, as you can see here. It's actually worth 3.4. which is pretty respectable. I would say the turning point is 2.5. If it's worth 2.5 or cheaper, definitely want to slap a obviously 2.5 was cheaper, and definitely want to slap a soldier's household on there. Because if you look, this one is a little bit more expensive, but it starts off at 2.5. See, that's why it sort of depends regarding wine. This wine doesn't get more expensive until later on in the game. So, again, if it's about, I would say 0.29, definitely already guaranteed to be worth it. Because these numbers here only calculate the production value. It doesn't calculate in the trade value that it also provides. So you have to consider that too. It doesn't actually consider the trade value that it's providing. So those buildings are all worth more than say 0.22. No, this building is worth significantly more than that, particularly if it's in your home node. All right. Because that will be directly increasing the value of your home node, which is obviously directly giving you money. But honestly, even if it's not in your home node, still very handy as well. Now, so next of all, we'll go on to workshops. We'll start off with workshops. My opinion on workshops is anything about 0.09 or above. So these four right here, I'd grab all of those, because anything about 0.09, these ones don't contribute to the trade value, because the trade value is only determined off the current price and the goods produced. And goods produced is not affected by the production efficiency. It's only affected by goods produced and base production, which is obviously your diplomatic development. So it's you can afford to be a little less worried about it. You can build these on grain as well, because you can get expensive grain provinces. So I'm not sure if I can find these specific ones, because I think they've pretty much all got counting houses on. I'm actually gonna delete this one just to show a point. Okay, see, this is still worth 0.26. It's still worth 0.13. I would still build a production, I would still build a workshop on there. I wouldn't build a manufactory. I'd build a soldier's household, because of the fact that it would give more so much manpower. But I would put a workshop there. Also, additional note, I normally put the soldier's household on gold provinces as well, because you can't put manufactories on gold provinces. So that's something important to note. Manufactories don't exist for gold provinces, which is probably for the best, because they'd be way too overpowered if they were. That's essentially 5 free development worth of gold. And yeah, no, that's a little too, that's honestly a little too busted. So I can't really blame them on that one. So next of all is mosques, or churches, depending on which religion you are. And these ones, frankly, I'm not really a huge fan of churches later on. However, I am a big fan early. My opinion on churches is normally around 0.13 or up. Some people would argue for 0.1 or up, as it pays for itself in about 100 years. But my opinion is that 100 years from when you get churches, you should already be deleting them anyway and replacing them with better buildings. So not really a huge fan of them later on, but I am a big fan of high value churches early on, because it is they do give quite significant value early on in the game. It's just that they don't scale very well. So unless you have the building slots to get everything you need and still be able to afford a church, so say like this one right here, if we have a look on what buildings you can get a manpower building here. I wouldn't build a church. I would straight up delete the church, grab that instead, or hell, I'd practically almost get a shipyard before I got a church. But I would probably grab that 1500 manpower. Hell yeah, that's totally worth it. Like, yeah, so you're probably making quite a bit off the church here. 0.23, that's cool. 1500 manpower is worth so much more than that much money. I'm telling you, you're pretty much never going to find a situation where a late game training field or something is not going to be worth more than a church. It's pretty much always going to be. And cathedrals are very rarely worth it, in my opinion. Unless you, again, look, see, Lunatic has so much money that he doesn't really care. I can't blame him for that one. I'd probably do the same thing. Sure, you can build these all if you want to. But, frankly, I'd practically have cleared out half of them by now, because I bet you that he doesn't have a barracks in every province there. You know, if I reckon if I have a look, see if I go into this little one right here, yeah, that's what I thought. See this right here, that's, look at all that manpower, that's just getting wasted. Alright, look at that. No. You want to be building manpower on all of those provinces. Straight up, you want to be getting it. Straight up, alright, manpower. This is particularly in multiplayer, it should be mandatory. In single player, you have a little bit more leeway, alright, because you're not going to be having a lot of extremely difficult wars later on in the game. But single player, but multiplayer, fuck yes. Hell yes. Get them. Straight up. Don't even question. I don't even want to hear you say but, alright? No buts. Build them. Hands down. Don't know how much more I can emphasize on that one, right? If your barracks, alright, if this barracks is giving more than 500 manpower, don't say another word. Don't say another word. Just build it, alright? And hell, if it's not giving 500 manpower, alright, see this one? Tranquebar. Alright, where's Tranquebar? Tranquebar. Alright, you know what you do? You know what you do? See this province? Yeah, that's more like it. And then what you do? You grab one. Oh, look at that. 1375. Pick that one up. Because military development is probably the second best in the game, behind diplo development. Admin development, pretty useless, pretty crap. Don't worry too much about it. I'll be going into development in a later video about like min-maxing that. But diplo and mill, that's where I sat. That's your money and your manpower. Two things you love. And should I say it's the most money compared to this one, and it's quite a lot too. Because again, look at that. See this one diplo dev right here. Not only alright, this one 0.17 monthly tax, not too bad. Local recruitment time, okay, that's cool. This one right here, 0.17 per income. Alright, great. So that's already the same amount of money that this one has provided. On top of that, 0.81 trade value. And guess what? So if we're running 0.81 trade value, okay. So let's just do some quick maths here, right? We have 0.81 trade value, okay? 0.81 times that by 87%, so 0.87, because obviously we don't have the entirety of this node. And then multiply that by our trade efficiency of 1.19, and look at that, that's 0.83 ducats. So this one gives 0.17, this one gives a full ducat a month. Okay, it's basically giving more than 5 times the money that this one is giving. More than 5 times as much. Alright? Think about it. More than 5 times as much. That is why diplo dev is so much better than mill dev. But look, I will, so much better than admin. But look, I'll go into development in a later video. But that's just a little bit of an explanation right there. You shouldn't even need to hear any more than the rest of it, alright? That's all you need to hear. So, alright. So, next of all, I'll go the naval buildings. We've got our dry docks, alright? And the answer to that is they're not really necessary. Never really need them. Look, if you want to grab one, that's cool, okay? Except the thing is, I have 85,000 maximum sailors. I only use 400 a month. I gain 800. I could practically have if I have my entire fleet out, okay? Let's take out our entire fleet and see how many sailors we use, alright? And just keep in mind, you should never be doing this either, alright? Keep in mind, you should never have your whole fleet out. You should never have any reason to have your whole fleet out, okay? But let's just say that hypothetically we did. Alright? Or at least like close enough to all of it. Yeah, look, you know what? That looks close enough. Okay, let's have a look, see, are we? Alright, we're only losing 200, okay? We have 654 ships, and we're only losing 200 sailors a month. Alright? So, oh, look at that. 85,000 sailors, right? 85,000 sailors. Divide that by 200. Oh no, look at that. We've only got 35 years worth of sailors. That is a tragedy. That is a massive tragedy, okay? Only 35 years of sailors. Yeah, look, you don't really need dockyards, especially never in single player, and frankly, never in multiplayer either. You just don't need them. They're just not necessary. You can't, like, if you have, you know, the slots for it, if you've already got everything else, okay? If you've already got your dockyard, your shipyard, your training fields, your conscription center, your counting house, your manufactory and your stock exchange. Okay, sure. Build. Look, you know what? Build a dry dock. I don't care. All right. But if you don't have like everything else prior to that, don't bother. It's not worth it. There's just so many other better things you can build. You know, because again, look, like I have most of my navy out, and I'm still making 750 sailors. All right. Oh, look at that, 472. So we make like 400 a month. So for every month that I have like my ships out, sorry, for every 2 months I have my ships out, I can make back that many sailors in 1 month of not having all my ships out. All right, it's just not worth it. Now, as for the grand shipyards, I would suggest building 10. Okay, 10 shipyards. The reason why you build 10 is because you use it as like a naval production center. See, notice how Lunatic has basically no shipyards because you don't need them either. Like, you don't need them. Who here is going to have 130 heavy ships? Tell me. How many heavy ships is the closest? Yeah, look at that. That's what I thought. A third. Almost a third of the heavy ships. And a third of the light ships. You know, a third, less than a third of the transports. No one in a single player game is going to be able to beat you on the ocean if you actually need to care about the ocean. If you don't need to care about the ocean, you don't need it anyway, okay? So there should pretty much be no reason why you build more than 10 shipyards. And again, that's more just a quality of life anyway. You don't even need 10. It's just that with 10, obviously you can make your ships faster. Alright? That's the only advantage you got. Is you make your ships faster. Whatever. Not really, you know, basically a non-issue. So okay, so let's just get a summary of training. Okay, barracks, 500 or so plus. Manufacturing, anything that's not fish, grain, or sometimes livestock, sometimes wine. Soldier's household, anything that's not a manufactory should have soldier's household, except for the 1 or 2 exceptions of ramparts in multiplayer. In single player, you know, that's my straight answer. Churches, early game, go for it. Late game, don't even bother, delete them. And counting houses, pretty much every province in the game should have a counting house. You know, like, or at least most of them. You know, so he has got quite a few here. He doesn't, obviously, you know, he don't have all the building slots. That's not a huge deal. But, yeah, you know, just pretty much every province should have a counting house. And dry docks and grand shipyards, pretty much don't even bother. You can have 10 shipyards if you want, but otherwise, don't even bother. Anyway, guys, that's been my first video on this. I will probably most likely be making a second video on building rate of returns, in which I'll probably be covering the trade, the coastal, the forts, the government buildings, and probably maybe a couple of these ones too. But you know, that'll probably be pretty brief after the other ones, because most of them already come under what I've previously stated. So anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. Peace.